Yes, sir.
Bring the Monday, August 21st, 2023 Township Committee meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. Birthday girl.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, by faxing notice of this meeting to the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger on January the 6th, 2023, and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City and Star Ledger on January 9th, 2023, and January 10th, 2023, respectively. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Schenker?
Here.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Here.
Mayor Patali?
Here. Moment of silence for private reflection. Thank you. Guest presentations, we have none. Proclamation. Deputy Mayor Cheek, I'll let you,
This is for Alessio Succo. Could we bring the family down? This is a proclamation for whereas Alessio Succo, a 9-year-old resident of the Township of Hamilton, was born with cerebral palsy. And even with all the limitations and struggle he goes through, it never makes him stop smiling, right? Yeah. Alessio has many likes. He enjoys being outside. He will always say hi to everyone that passes him, loves music, and he even has his little skimmy dance. Shimmy. I'm sorry. Shimmy. All right. He does when he gets excited. At the age of 4, on May 8, 2018, Alessio was diagnosed with a rare brain and spine cancer known as DLGNT. He did not leave the hospital for 8 months, and during that time he had 37 rounds of chemo, 3 stem cell transplants. During his stay, Alessio became close with the nurses and was known as the mayor. On the oncology floor. He showed everyone his strength and what a fighter he truly is. Despite Alessio's challenges, he still goes to school to have a little normalcy. He really enjoys seeing his peers just like they are happy to see him. He inspires them. They look forward to seeing him, his smile, his happiness every day, and will ask for him when he is not there to show that the positivity and happiness shines on. Alessio shows us to never give up our dreams, that no challenge is too big. If we all saw the world how Alessio sees it, the good in everything, to live the moment and to have fun, the world would be a better place. We need more people like Alessio in the world. Therefore, the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, on this day, August 21st, 2023, do hereby recognize Alessio Succo in honor of his remarkable accomplishments. This achievement is not only a credit to his hard work and dedication, but is a credit to the support he has received from his family, friends, classmates, teachers. We wish him all the best. Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation, the Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day. Whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly has captured the imagination of millions of Americans, and whereas both the western and eastern monarch populations have seen significant declines with less than 1% of the western monarch population remaining, while the eastern population has fallen by as much as 90%. And whereas Township of Hamilton recognizes that human health ultimately depends on well-functioning ecosystems and that biodiverse regions can better support food production, healthy soil and air quality, and can foster healthy connections between humans and wildlife. And whereas cities, towns, and counties have a critical role to play to help save the monarch butterfly, the Township of Hamilton is striving to become a leader. And whereas on March 31st, 2013, I, Carl Patali, signed the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Pledge and have officially committed to taking meaningful action to protect the monarch butterfly. And whereas Township of Hamilton is committed to issuing this proclamation to raise awareness about the decline of monarch butterfly and the species' need for habitat, hosted a native seed and or plant giveaway and sale during the Green Fair, plant and maintain a monarch and pollinator-friendly demonstration garden at the MISPA Annex, as well as other prominent or culturally significant community locations. And whereas every resident of the Township of Hamilton can make a difference for the monarch by planting native milkweed and nectar plants to provide habitat for the monarch and pollinators in locations where people live, work, learn, play, and worship. And whereas the Township of Hamilton will commit to convert vacant lots to monarch habitat, add or maintain native milkweed and nectar-producing plants in community gardens, display educational signage at monarch gardens and pollinator habitat, and now, therefore, I, Carl Batali, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the Township of Hamilton, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2023 as Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day in the Township of Hamilton, and encourage all residents to participate in community activities that support and celebrate monarch conservation. Thank you. And Luann's not able to be here tonight. I was going to give that to her, but she was unable to make it. So, moving on. Addition, deletion to late agenda items, there are none. Early public comment on agenda items.
Mr. Mayor, before we get to that, if I have could I have a moment?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we remove the 5-minute time limit per speaker. I feel as though that's something that's the discretion of the chair and shouldn't be on our agenda.
Okay.
I've been here over 6 years and have never had to do this before. And I don't think it's represents how we should support people of this town. So I want to put a motion on the floor to remove this from the early public comment and from public comment at the end of the meeting.
I have a motion. I hear a second. I'll second it, and I'll say that last week when I tried to make that happen at the beginning of the meeting, I didn't do that very well. I apologize. The 5-minute rule is in our ordinance, and as Committeeman Schenker said, we've never really enforced it. I was informed that it was done a couple of times in the past, but ultimately it is the discretion of the mayor to grant more time. So that's about it for that. So we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek,
Since it's already in our ordinance, I would say yes.
Mrs. Link,
No.
Mr. Schenker,
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon, Mayor Patali.
Yes.
3 yes, 2 no. Motion carries. It's removed from the agenda.
Early public comment. Do we have anything?
We have Bruce Stry for 9A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just one question. I was curious about the minutes. At the last meeting, I'm not questioning the minutes, but it should be in the minutes that a resolution to establish an escrow account for the burn factory was tabled. Okay? I would have expected it to be on this meeting. Why did it not appear on this meeting since it was tabled, why is that not a continuing discussion at this meeting?
Because we were still waiting for some information.
Okay, like for what kind of information?
What was questioned last time was how many uses
I'm sorry?
how many uses on a lot
Okay,
are allowed with cannabis.
okay,
So we finally got some answers.
okay. And that was from Township Attorney, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Do you expect that to be on the next agenda, next meeting?
It can be on tonight.
It could be tonight.
Pardon me?
It could be
on
tonight.
Tonight? Or it's not on the agenda?
It's been tabled. We can pull anything off the table anytime we want.
Oh, I understand, you can, but when will it appear back on the agenda?
It doesn't have to be on the agenda.
To discuss it?
We're going to discuss it tonight, Bruce.
Okay, all right, so you're going to discuss, I'm happy to hear that, but it's not on the agenda. Okay, very good, thank you.
Anybody else?
Debbie Kraus. Did we answer your question that you had? Okay. It was about item number 2, so that should wait till the end, or?
Yes, so the 5-minute rule issue is a procedural issue. The early public comment under the Act is intended for substantive discussion about items on the agenda. So if anybody wanted to speak about the 5-minute rule itself, I would say that has to be done at the end during public comment. The public's free to comment on that, just not at the outset of the meeting. Thank you. So early public comment's been removed from the agenda, is my understanding. Correct. So because that's a procedural item, that can be addressed by the public at the end. But it's not a substantive topic up for discussion tonight. So I don't think it's appropriate for early public comment. Public will have the opportunity to speak about it if they want. We're not saying they can't. But my understanding is it's only for substantive items.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Brett?
No.
No?
We had somebody else sign up for the same thing, but they'll have to wait till the end to.
Understood. Discussions. Formal action may be taken.
Again, Mayor, I'd like to bring something up. I'd like to take off the table the resolution for the escrow agreement for Burn Factory and bring it up for discussion.
Okay, so we would need a motion to untable it.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second? I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Committeeman Schenker?
I asked a question at the last meeting about the ability to for the uses of this property, which is the reason it was tabled. I believe we have some information.
Yeah, good evening. Emily Givens with the firm Maley Givens. There are, under your zoning code, only one principal use is permitted on site. Any other uses must be deemed accessory uses to be allowed on site without need for variance relief. In this instance, it is my opinion, based off of the ordinance that's in place allowing cannabis uses and through the regulations of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, that a cannabis use anywhere, any type, is a principal use. It is not accessory to another use. Question was asked whether or not this is an accessory to the existing agricultural use. It is not. It is its own principal use. In terms of whether or not it is recognized as an agricultural use in and of itself, it is, but it is not protected by right to farm because that's, it is not recognized federally as a legal use. So we have farmland preservation, if it is a preserved farm, which, and that I am not certain of. I did ask the question, but unfortunately I didn't get a response back on whether or not it is preserved farmland, but it is highway commercial. And I don't believe that it is permitted farmland, agricultural in that zone. So at this juncture, it would require a use variance in order to be located on the same lot as other existing principal uses. And that is not permitted under your ordinance.
So the long and short of it is, no,
Correct.
cannot go there.
No.
What were the environmental issues that were brought up? Did you find anything out about that?
I didn't look into any environmental issues, Mrs. Link. The threshold question was in the negative, so I didn't go any further than it's not permitted to be located there, so there was no need. I do know that some issues were brought up with regard to pesticides being used. That is not correct. Pesticides are not used on cannabis. That is set forth in the authorizing state statute and how you can, what you're required to or permitted to do with regard to growing. Pesticides are not permitted. In this particular instance, I was made aware that the structure would have a concrete foundation and none of the water would be infiltrated into the ground. The plants were going to be grown in pots, and the water that was going to be used to feed the plants and water the plants would be recycled and reused. So not a lot of runoff into the ground, but certainly not that pesticide issue that was brought up. But that's as far as I went with that.
Okay, because the source of the water was an issue, you know?
Well, the size of the aquifer, as the mayor mentioned at the last meeting, that is based off of everything that I've read and the information that I've been provided with. There is not an issue with the amount of water that would be necessary to water these particular plants, and there would not be a negative impact on the aquifer or impact the ability. It's not going to run dry.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think that these findings should have been emailed to my attention, and I haven't seen them. So,
Mrs. Link, I apologize, but I was not aware that this was going to be an agenda item this evening. I was asked to attend this meeting late today, and I was not informed that it was going to be discussed. The question, and I have provided the information, I discussed it with your administrator and your economic development director with regard to the threshold question, and we discussed it immediately after the last meeting.
So the end of the story is this particular use cannot go there. So I don't know why we would drag this on any longer. It is, the question was asked at the last meeting, it's being answered this meeting. So there should be a motion to whether we want to accept this or not.
Do we hear a motion?
I'll move that we do not enter into an escrow agreement with Burn Factory because of these conditions.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Solicitor, I have a motion and a negative.
Whenever possible, it's best to phrase the motions in the affirmative. So this would be a motion as to whether to enter into an agreement.
Committeeman Schenker, would you like to?
What do I need to do now?
So I believe the appropriate motion would be in the affirmative, which means it should be a motion to enter into an escrow
The
agreement.
motion that we enter into an agreement,
Correct.
and then you would have to vote no if you were against it.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Thank you.
Do you still
Mrs.
second
Link?
that?
No.
No.
I mean, yes, no, I don't second it. I agree with our lawyer.
So you're seconding the motion in the affirmative.
In the
so we can have a
affirmative.
vote.
The affirmative.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
I vote no, and also I agree with Mrs. Link. We didn't get any response or anything before we came in here today, but I still vote no.
Mrs. Link?
No.
Mr. Schenker?
No.
Dr. Witherspoon? Mayor Patali?
No.
4 no, 1 abstention. Motion carries. Motion is defeated. I'm sorry. Just to be clear, motion is defeated.
Moving on, 3A. Resolution supporting MLAA installation of deck surface on Western Hockey Court at Leapy Track.
Second?
I have a motion and a second.
I
So- So what this is they will be placing the deck surface on the other court there, and the MLAA will be paying for this, not taxpayers. All the tournaments that they run, other things that they do, they were able to get together the $59,000 to put this deck on for the kids. It's hockey program's really big, so that's a big deal to see them step up and pay for this themselves.
I just have a question. The deck surface, is anyone here from the MLAA? Is that sports court? Is that deck? They have it on the east side, and I just wanted to know,
Rob's here. I thought I saw you in here earlier.
how,
Rob will come up and give a little,
okay. Will, and
Mr.
other,
Dirks.
yeah, I just wanted to also say, if it's strictly for deck hockey, is anyone going to be playing roller hockey on there?
So MLAA
I'm sorry,
Please
could
speak
you please
into the-
state your name and also
Yeah,
the residence in which, the municipality in which you reside?
Moving forward, if anybody comes up and speak, please speak as close into the mic as you can, so that when people watch the video the next day, they can hear better.
Rob Dirks, Hamilton Township.
Thank you.
So currently MLAA does not offer any roller hockey in our programs.
Okay.
Haven't done so. I think this year we are entering in our 39th or 40th year. We're up for debate on that right now. Never have done roller hockey.
Okay, so it's strictly for deck hockey,
Yes.
and it's been very successful on the other court.
Very successful to the point where we're falling behind some of the other towns that have 2 to 3 deck hockey courts. So we went ahead with the kids and did many fundraisers to come up with the money to do this without any burden to the taxpayers.
Is there any special shoes that the kids will have to wear on the deck hockey, or is it just come in your sneakers?
No, it actually saves on some of the wear. The sneakers are the same sneakers they would wear at weather court they play on. The sticks that the parents pay for now, they last a lot longer on the deck court compared to the asphalt courts where it would
Yes.
ruin
So
the sticks after a couple games.
congratulations on your endeavor,
Thank
and
you very
that
much.
sounds good.
Yeah, good job.
Appreciate that. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to do this for the kids.
Absolutely.
Any other questions you guys have for me on here?
That is all. That is all.
Nope, good. Thanks, Rob. So we have a motion and a second,
You do.
correct? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
4, public hearing, adoption of ordinances, we have none. 5, introduction of ordinances, we have none. 6A, Leapy Field Concession Stand and Restroom Building Award to R. Maxwell Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $884,300.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
6B, resolution to award bid 2023-08 Leapy Field Parking Lot to Landberg Construction LLC. Base bid in the amount of $340,784.50.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll-
Question?
I
Go
have
ahead.
a question.
Mr. Schenker first.
Okay. Did he say?
Is there any way we can get this number down?
We looked at the pricing, due to the one surface that is required by the Pinelands Commission and the approval was the porous asphalt. I don't believe the cost is going to be coming down. The design that we prepared and was out to bid, it's rearranging the whole parking lot to be more, beneficial to expand later.
Okay.
So the whole parking lot's going to be reconstructed, redesigned. It won't be a kidney shape anymore. It'll be more of a traditional L shape.
Will we gain any more spots by doing
About
this?
20 spots right now, but it has the room to move more to about like another 100. So we can build onto it to the, I would say, the south.
So
Also,
the parking lot's going to be basically the same size.
it similar to size, yes. Yeah, more usable space. We'll have walkways as well, and then there'll be an open space between the parking and the hockey court area, so then they can set up tents for when they have their tournaments.
Okay.
It makes more sense. And then we'll have a walkway that goes from the hockey courts to the concession stand as well. The concession stand is going to be twofold. It's going to house the call box as well, since we did a second floor. So that's a benefit as well.
Thank you.
What kind of asphalt is going to be used for this?
So there's two types. There's normal asphalt in the drive aisles, and then porous asphalt where the parking spaces are.
Porous.
Porous, yeah. So that's like a very large stone base underneath, and then a smaller stone, and then a open graded asphalt mix that the water will kind of infiltrate through into the stone base.
Is that similar to what they've done at Lake Lenape Park?
Yes.
Yes, it's identical to that where they
Okay.
park now in that one section. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the Pinelands.
It's not strictly just Pinelands. It's the new stormwater regulations that the state had instituted, and then Pinelands followed.
Okay.
And it makes it so that we don't have to have swales, so we have more usable space.
Yeah, it's costly in the beginning, but maintenancing wise, it's less.
That was my next question, was the drainage in that. This will improve the drainage in that area.
Well, the whole parking lot's going to be reconstructed, so it won't have potholes everywhere right now.
And
it'll look better.
there won't be flooding or
There's no flooding out there right now.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
6C, resolution authorizing amendment to bid 2021-10 tree and stump removal and tree trimming services, contract to Rich Tree Services, South Plainfield, New Jersey, for a not-to-exceed increase of $10,000 for the term January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2023. Brett, you want to give us a little insight?
Our original not to exceed amount was $10,000. We're right there. We need some more money to get us through to the end of the year in case we have trees that need to come down.
Can you speak a little louder?
We're at our not to exceed amount right now. We need more money put aside for tree removal to get us through to the end of the year.
the tree removal, are we removing dead trees, or is it just trees that are in the way of a project?
Dead and hazardous.
Dead and hazardous? Okay.
I will confirm that Brett hates cutting down live trees.
I would like to see a lot of dead trees that are along Route 50, but I understand that's not in our purvey. Okay. All right. No, we want all live trees to stay.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Agenda, our consent items. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion A through H.
I have a motion A through H.
Second.
I have a motion a second A through H. All those in favor? Aye.
I just have one
Again?
question.
Oh, sorry.
It was just B, 7B, with the opioid settlement that proceeds in the amount of $9,146.40. I wanted to know, I asked this question before, what was the plan for the use? And I see the chief walking, so he must have the answer.
Putting on his glasses.
Good evening.
Okay.
To answer your question, the administrator and I spoke earlier, and we spoke a couple days ago. There's a lot of things that we could use this money on, so we decided that there was no reason to reinvent the wheel. So we're trying to set up meetings with Recovery Centers of America and Volunteers of America to partner with them to possibly do some scholarships, housing, treatment, counseling, things of that nature. Hopefully, job readiness to try to combat, this opioid epidemic. So that's what we're going to try to use the money for. We do have a large sum now. I believe it's in your package. It's the total is $48,654.32. So we do have quite a bit of money that hopefully we'll be able to utilize to partner with these groups to help the township residents.
I think that's a good idea because, as you know, we have a large opioid problem.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that whether we got extra Narcan, I don't know what, but once you meet with Recovery Centers of America and Volunteers of America, maybe you can all come up with a solution because I want to save more lives if we can with the money.
Absolutely.
That's it.
I have a question as well. When you talk about scholarships, are you talking about monies put aside for someone's individual treatment?
Yeah, so in some treatment programs, you may get the very basic treatment. So we're hoping, and I'm hoping we can do that. Obviously, we have to speak to the CFO and everything. We got to work some things out. But we should be able to provide scholarships to people that may not have the money to get the extra treatment that they need.
Yes. Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Let's hit reverse. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Ayes have it. On. 8A, resolution to hire Khalid Bell as a full-time regular laborer at $35,695.84 annually, effective date August 24th, 2023. Employment contingent upon successful completion of physical, drug screen, and background check.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
8B, resolution to appoint James Jensen as a CDL trainer in the Department of Public Works, effective August 21st, 2023.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Approvals. Minutes, regular meeting minutes of August 7th, 2023.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Minutes. Executive session meeting minutes of August 7th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Bills, bill list total $1,785,623.98.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Reports. Mr. Administrator. Nothing. Okay. Mr. Solicitor.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
No report. Mr. Engineer, I know you have a report.
Just a small one. I did hand one out to each of
Yes.
the members. Basically an update on all the road programs, capital jobs. So starting real quick, the road program phase 2 over on Nelson, Liberty, Oliver, and Crocus, they're not going to be starting paving work until mid-September, but they are going to start some storm sewer work over on Nelson this week, at the end of this week. So there will be some construction going on at the intersection of Nelson and, I believe, Reading. But paving probably won't be until after Labor Day sometime. Atlantic Avenue Phase 2, all the concrete and storm sewer work has been completed. Milling of that roadway from Summers Point Mays Landing Road to the post office will start on, I believe, Wednesday, and base paving will be completed on Thursday this week. And then top paving would be following within a week or so, depending on weather. The local freight, which is from Atlantic County Jail to Babcock Road, is planned as well this week on milling on the 24th and base paving on the 25th, which would be Friday. Third is the fourth project would be New York Avenue, and this one is important to the public. Starting tomorrow, New York Avenue will be shut down for tomorrow into Wednesday evening, and will reopen.
So it'll be closed tomorrow night.
It'll be closed tomorrow night. They will be milling the roadway and grading it tomorrow, and then base paving on Wednesday, and we'll be opening the road Wednesday afternoon. So I would find a different route for the next 2 days, and then they will be top paving that road on Monday the 28th. So again, for the day it will be closed, but will be reopened at the end of the day on the 28th. We were trying to get this done before school started, so hopefully weather permitted, we will meet that with everything. Everything else, we're just working on some other projects, and we awarded both projects tonight for the Leapy Recreational Field. And if you had any questions on that, and that's all I have.
I mean, I know it just got bid. Any idea? Any feeling from those guys? I know none of this. Everybody, listen. This is pure speculation. All right.
I'm pushing them, so the contracts are ready for them to sign. I just emailed the contractor, said pick them up. We're planning on trying to do a joint pre-con meeting in the next within the next 10 days, hopefully before Labor Day, if not right after. And we're going to plan with the concession stand to work around, or have the parking lot work around the concession stand. We don't want to rip up the parking lot while the concession stand's being operated on. So I believe the contractor for that, Lamberg, is willing to work with our time frame and locked in with all the pricing, so it's good. So if the asphalt parking lot is not completed this year, it's due to getting the concession stand moving first to a stage that we can get the parking lot done without interrupting the concession stand.
Understood.
You have here 2023 fiscal year Safe Streets to Transit program.
Yes.
What have you accomplished so far on that?
Right now, we are preparing, and I'm almost to the point that I have conceptual plans for each lot that may be affected along Park Road. Again, those lots are on the south side of Park Road, the Cove and County Park side is what we're looking at. And what we're going to do is prepare those plans and meet with each resident that it may be affecting, and showing them where the sidewalk is going to go, the width of where it's how it's going to be shown on the street or view, and if it's going to affect their property line at all in regards to either getting an easement or not needing an easement.
Yeah, I see where you put 3 foot wide.
Correct. We looked through all the regulations, and 36 inches is the minimum requirement that we need to have. There is certain areas within a 200-foot section you would have to put a 5 foot wide to have a bypass around if two people were coming at each other. They would wait, pull over, go around, and that's for ADA accessibility. So I don't believe the blocks are 200 foot. They might be just there. So every block between Rundle, Tunney, if they're within that 200 foot, we do have handicap ramps at every intersection. So that constitutes, we don't need that little 5 foot section. So that's what we're working on, and we should have those plans ready, and I'm going to go door to door and visit those residents and go over the plan with them so they can see that.
Okay, now the grant is $341,000.
That is correct for construction.
Okay.
Yep.
And what will be our cost?
I don't know that yet. I can't speculate on whether or not we're going to need easements to see what the, what residents may or may want. So until I know for a fact that we're going to be encroaching, I can't tell you what that cost may be. We want to try to do it so it's not taxpayer money, obviously. So that's the goal. If we have to come up with a little bit of a different plan and maybe unique recessing the curbing out a little bit to make it weave around certain people's properties and redo some curbing, maybe it would actually be an effect to slow people down with a curbing bumping out and around. We might introduce that, and that can take into effect this cost or this grant money as well.
And we'll see a site plan of that?
Yeah, the site plan will be all prepared. And we have a conceptual pretty well to a point, but I can't say it's a design plan yet.
Okay.
I have a question. The 3 foot sidewalk, 3
Yes.
foot wide, does that include the curb, or is that 3
No,
foot?
the curb's another 6, so it's
Yeah.
really 40 inch or
So it'd be
42 inches.
42 inches.
Yeah.
Total.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Just I wouldn't say that you don't want to have a wheelchair going onto the curb piece. It kind of gets stuck.
understood.
Yeah. Yep.
I just want to give you a compliment. I wasn't sure if it was you or who put the information out that the New York Avenue would be closed down on tomorrow, but I was really happy about it because communication is the key. And I think the more that the residents know, then we can maybe avoid traffic blunders and things of that nature. So I thought that was a very good thing.
We worked with the police on that to get it out to everybody. The contractor, installed those message boards as well. I had to correct them a couple times because they weren't bright enough. We couldn't really read them, but then they got it fixed. So I think the road will be a lot better than what it is now. So it'll be an improvement.
Thank you.
Yep.
Very good, thank you. Township committee members, Mr. Cheek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, September 3rd, Alonzo Stucco, the young gentleman that was here today. The MLAA is having a fun day, and I believe it has flag football that our police department have volunteered to get play in. Am I right, Chief?
Yes, and firemen and all first responders.
Good. So if we want to see them actually run,
Wow.
Tilly's in there. All right. That's September 3rd for a fun day for that young gentleman. That's all I have.
Mrs. Link.
I would like to make an announcement that we have improved the sound that people will be able to hear the words of people speaking during the meetings, which last meeting it was a little, low, and I was talking to our sound engineer, and he said we got another CD, and we redid that meeting so people can actually hear people speaking at the last meeting. So if you went on to the township, meeting, you may not have heard, the number of people that were speaking, but if you go, it has been republished, or it has been reissued, and so you can go on to that second rendition of the last week's meeting, or the meeting on the first Monday. So that is a very good thing, because everyone should be able to hear what the township people are saying and be able to weigh in on that. And if you can't hear it, it is very difficult to, understand what is going on. So that is what I intend to emphasize. I do seem to think that the issues with redevelopment and cannabis use have been mishandled since the initial proposal of 2018. And as it stands today, the entire township designated in need of redevelopment, and all legal cannabis applications have to go through the redevelopment process, both which are faulty and need to be corrected. So I would like to say that would be something that I would like to see, is the correction of this ordinance. That's it.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Shanker.
Yeah, along those same lines, tonight we saw a process kind of work, and I've said this before, that these cannabis and redevelopment, the processes have to work. So tonight we found out that a certain application couldn't work on that certain property. The way this is designed to work is that should have went to escrow to find that out, because it didn't go to escrow. And I asked the question, I'm paying an attorney to now give us the answer, and that answer is paid for by us. If it goes to escrow, it gets paid for by the applicant. So while while a lot of people got upset about this, if we don't allow these things to go through the process and we able to uncover things such as what we uncovered tonight, it will cost the township money on a lot of these applications. So some of them don't even make it to this point. They don't even make it to the dais. We have, Carl can attest for this, that we have numerous developers come to us, talk to us about different projects they want to do, and I would say more than what actually make it through do not make it through, because they're just not what we're looking for in this town. The ones that make it to this point are ones that you want to take a closer look at. And you also can't close the door on everybody who wants to come in here and try and develop, no matter what they're trying to develop. It will all wash out. It will all happen. It happened with Trophy Park. It happened with this It's part of the process. So if we don't allow it to get to that escrow, then we will continue to pay to dig up information on these projects. So I would like people to have a little more patience with the process because it will work, and it does work. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes, I first would like to say that I attended the memorial service for Margaret Peggy Capone. It was a very nice memorial service, and she was a public servant in our community, served on the school board, Greater Egg, and was just a wonderful person, pushing for things for the youth, and certainly she will be missed. I want to say that we should continue to pray for her family because it was a tremendous loss to them and to our community. Also, I attended the 4-H fair. I had never been, and I'm ashamed to say that. I had been on the grounds for different events, but I had never been to the 4-H fair. But I did attend, I did go, and it was very interesting. Very interesting to see, to say the least. But I enjoyed what I saw, the baby parades, and to see all of the residents participating. There was somebody out there with a tree, and the whole time I couldn't hardly hear anything, but they were there. And you learned a whole lot about, different things that were going on in this community, and, with the chickens and different things of that nature. Not that I'd never seen it, I just didn't know we had all that in Hamilton Township. But it was very, very nice, and I was glad that I was able to attend, and that is my report.
Very good.
Can I add? Happy birthday, Thelma. Today is your birthday.
Today is Dr. Witherspoon's birthday, so happy birthday.
Thank you.
What a way to spend it.
I do my job.
And we appreciate it. Thank you. I don't have really too much to say, actually. Just want to echo what Committeeman Schenker said. It's a process. You have to kind of let it go through to find some of the problems that may be there. And as he said, dealing with Emily Givens, and that was on our dime. And on top of that, it's the work of other people in the township. Brett, our tax assessor, some other people, their time can also be billed to that escrow account because they're working on that, on those certain things. But we're all learning. This whole cannabis thing is we're learning. It's new. The state even, a couple of times there threw some curveballs at everybody. So it's a learning curve, and we're gonna make some mistakes, and there's gonna be some missteps, and we're gonna fix them, moving forward. So hopefully every time something like this happens, we learn some more. And hopefully we can, you got to learn from your mistakes. 4-H fair, it was some great weather. It was really, really nice. They always do a great job over there. Fall's coming, so we got Art in the Park coming up. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Will be going on down in the middle of town, so keep an eye out for that stuff. Chief, can you do another regroup about New York Avenue and maybe something for Atlantic Avenue? Let everybody know what's going on. Try to keep people away from there. And that's really all I have. Reagan, I'll see you later. And Maddie, miss you and love you, and I hope to see you soon. So I will go ahead and open up to public comment. Come on down. How you doing, Jim?
I have a question. Where's Crocus Street at?
Crocus?
Yes.
Hamilton Woods, over off of Route 40, across from Misty Pines.
Because there's one
Rhodes
in
is over there.
Galloway Township too, just past the.
Yep, no, we're not paving Galloway Township. I promise you that. Yeah, and that actually they're doing MUA is doing some work over there now, so that's it might be a little bit of time before we get over there and do that.
Correct.
So I don't know how are they with that. Do you know?
MUA just finished, but it needs to settle for about 30 days. So around after September 15th, I think that's what they're trying to plan to do. Stay over there, do all the roads, and be finished.
Yeah, I would venture to say that's going to be the last one done.
Correct.
Thanks.
I'll tell them happy birthday. I have one coming up in 53 days.
Counting down.
Happy birthday.
Thursday, October 12th.
Gotcha.
Well, that's a ways.
Month and a half away.
Thank you, sir.
And Carl, Rich, and I'll see you all on Wednesday.
Can't wait.
All right, see you, Jim.
Mr. Stry.
Mr. Mayor. The problem with the process that you're talking about is the cannabis is now a permitted use. And the problem is never is it addressed, since it is permitted, the negative and positive criteria are never addressed. It will go straight to the planning board, okay? Mr. Watkins can probably explain to you, because he is a planner and an engineer and he is, works with the zoning board, so he can explain that to you. That is the basic problem of a lack of discussing things to approve the use. More broadly, my biggest concern is the 81 licenses that Township Committee is pursuing. Specifically and narrowly, the 24 that are being processed as we speak in the industrial park. The industrial park and all 6 classes of licenses are being pursued, 4 of each, and many are already coming through the pipeline, all 6 in total. Probably the one that is most disturbing is Mint Green, which has you have a signed agreement of sale. That's a 20-acre site right on the bike path. It's at the corner of Atlantic and Babcock Road, and that whole area is surrounded by, and I think we're familiar with the industrial park. Right next to that site is assisted living, right next door. 2 doors down, you have Lighthouse, the drug rehabilitation center. We have 3 schools in the industrial park, Hess School, Special Services, and we have ACIT. The Justice Facility. At the other end of Babcock, we have Wellspring Church. There's a gymnastics facility, and the list goes on. And to showcase the industrial park for 24 licenses, I'm not sure how to describe what a misstep to concentrate that much cannabis, cultivation, manufacturing, all 6. There's Sipcoy, it was a retail right at the corner of Cedarwood and Oakwood. I think a very in-depth reconsideration of any cannabis right in the heart. If you look at the population, the industrial park is right in the heart. It's between Mays Landing and Route 40 or Highway Commercial. You really have to sit back. A lot of people don't even know this at this point. Okay, I think we're all just waking up to the fact, and you have really been successful at promoting it. Right on Cedarwood, there's 2. Another on Oakwood. So I would implore you to take a real hard look before you go any further with any of these things. And again, the problem is the cannabis ordinance makes the use permitted, which means all they have to do now is get your approval to start the escrow accounts, and then once they go to the planning board, they walk in, it's a permitted use, then they just have to address the bulk requirements and all the other things. So this is a very important issue to everybody. And I think the more that residents around the town, everybody will be close to one. The whole Route 40 corridor, design commercial, highway commercial, Meadowview, just all, Meadowview apartments, all the way down, and everything close to it. You're going to be close to some kind of a cannabis business. So I think you need to do a very in-depth reconsideration of what you're going through right now. So thank you.
Bruce,
Thank you.
What was the name of that one you talked about? Green Mint?
Green Mint. I think other people are here to speak about that. Green Mint is...
That hasn't been before us.
Hasn't even been before us yet.
Well, I know, and that's part of the... well, I can address that too. Green Mint is a 20-acre parcel at the intersection. It's in the industrial...
Do they own it?
Pardon me?
They bought the property. Is that what you're telling me?
I think the attorney announced it, I believe.
Yeah, there's an agreement, but they didn't buy it.
Pardon me?
They didn't buy it yet, did they? Did they put down their money and buy it?
There's an agreement.
Mr. Mayor, and members of the committee, I would say that it's public comment. He's allowed to speak and be heard. I would be cautious about getting into a conversation about a pending potential business that, it's not noticed. That person's not here to hear it. So I would just caution you on
I'm
that.
just curious because this hasn't come before us yet.
It has not.
But it sounds like it's already a done deal.
Well, can
I can certainly look into that and make a report back to the committee. I believe there was a contract for the purchase of a parcel of land that I reported on last time. I don't know the particulars, but I can find out more and report back to you. I'm just always hesitant, respectfully, of getting into the particulars of an application that may come before this board when it's not on the agenda. Now, certainly, this gentleman's entitled to speak about it.
In this information, I opened all the contracts of sale.
Okay.
And this was properly sent to me.
Mm-hmm.
But this particular parcel it's a 20-acre site at the intersection of Babcock and Atlantic Avenue, right on the corner.
I know where it's at.
Right across the bike
Right near
path
the
from
bike
Chancellor's Place, so you know where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
The contract is for $629,000 for the purpose, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it was for two purposes, cultivation and manufacturing. And there's some question about, and maybe somebody else who knows a little bit more about contracts, but it was signed when it says Charles Pritchard signed the agreement. The buyers, Atlantic Avenue, Hamilton LLC, dated 6/1 of 2023. There's some question about the notarizing by Ms. Annemuller on 7/12. Somebody else can address that. The mayor has the ability to veto any sale within 10 days. I think you're probably aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of this contract?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the mayor's aware of this. It also the agreement also states that the buyer needs township approval within 90 days. Maybe the date of the actual start date may be in question, but the impact of if they bought 20 acres, it's going to be substantial. I assume it hasn't come before you, but time is running out for them to come here, according to this contract. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read English.
Me either.
That being said, I'm surprised you don't know. Okay. Well, the mayor knows. Okay. The other four of you may not, but this is a significant project if it comes to fruition. Personally, I'm going to have to oppose that. Okay. Because of all of the surrounding businesses and activities. I mean, if you're right next to a assisted living and a drug rehabilitation, and you go right down the line, you got the justice facility and everything around it. This is not properly placed. So again, I implore you to dig into this, get all the details. It's a permitted use. So, and I'm afraid that once you go to escrow accounts, and now you're paying professionals and everybody's spending money, it gets a little more complicated. Once you cross, there's a line that you cross of no return.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've tried to understand this whole process. Where I have the flow chart, I don't know where, and I can't understand. I'm waiting for some kind of a explanation of where do you get past that line of no return? Okay, is it when everybody starts spending money? When they come here to present that? I know there's a timetable in that particular one, but there's 5 others. Okay, there's 2 more on Cedarwood, there's 2 more on Oakwood, and right in the middle is the retail operation. Now, retail, if you look at the permitted uses in the industrial park, retail is not permitted. But since you have made cannabis retail as a permitted use, that contradicts the ordinance that says retail is not in the industrial park. So you've got some contradictions, you've got some real problems, you've got some, like I said before, the positive and negative criteria that are not going to be addressed here that I can see. Mr. Watkins, if you ask him, he can explain how that process works. That's why things go to the zoning board. The zoning board has been let out of the whole process. So it's a complicated thing. I'm not saying it's easy, but the fact is, if you're going to have cannabis, 24 licenses, I don't know if you could possibly do that, but in the books, there's 24 licenses that you're pursuing. So I don't expect to have all the answers here, but it needs to be brought to your attention.
I'll disagree, Bruce.
Thank you.
Hi, Joelle Bridgers, 56 Chancellor Place, Chancellor Park. First of all, I want to apologize because I normally either come to the meetings or I review them on YouTube right after, and my daughter got married the day before the last meeting, so that all went to I was just alerted to the 20 parcel agreement of sale for this cannabis manufacturing, growing and manufacturing. And I was like, that can't be. It's too close to our neighborhood. Chancellor Knightsbridge is closest to this parcel, and it's got to be less than 1,000 feet, which is, 33.333 yards. I know it's building to building, but we don't know where these buildings will start. I don't feel that this is the appropriate place. We're not against it, or at least I'm not. I mean, I think almost everybody in this room has enjoyed cannabis one time in their life. But it's just not in the proper place. It's just not in the proper place. I mean, you have a school. My grandkids are going to this school, school. I don't want it across the street from a growing field and manufacturing. There's some people out there that say there's no odor. There is an odor. The one in Egg Harbor Township in the industrial park there, I happen to know someone very close to me that takes care of the building there. And he would joke, way before this, he would joke about going in there, coming home, and having to strip right away and put his clothes in the washing machine because he stunk. And I called him, and I said, hey, can you smell it from the outside too? He's like, oh yeah. So get a nice crosswind or something like that. Our neighborhood's smelling it. Our kids are smelling it. I just don't think that's right. And I'm not here. I respect every one of you up here. You all do a great job. I mean, you're here for us when we helped you get up there. But I feel that we need to speak. So if it gets to you, to the process where you need to pass it on or deny it, you understand where we're coming from. Some of the things, I won't go into all of my questions because there's so much to learn here. I found this out again Friday night. So between work and other things I had going on, I've been Googling. There's not any research in New Jersey because it's so new to us right now. But there is enough out there in other states like California, Colorado, Florida. I mean, I've been just looking things up, and there's pros and cons. I mean, the tax revenue, yeah, it's great. But some of the cons, which I feel may affect not just our neighborhood, but may affect the whole town, is the immense use of water. Now, the one that was at Jean's, they had the aquifer, right? Here, you'd be using city water. So, do we have enough? Are we going to be able to keep up with it? Do we have to get more equipment for the water that's going to cost us taxpayer more? That was one thing. Another one was fire, major concern. If the place catches on fire, one of the grow houses catches on fire, again, with the right winds and whatnot, you saw what happened to Hawaii. With the woods, the assisted living next door, and Knightsbridge, part of our community, on the other side, it could be really bad. That was another thing. Electricity. I read in Florida that there was parts of Florida where there was some grow farms and neighborhoods where electricity was being used up so much that it ended up costing the taxpayers more. I don't know if it'll happen here. Some of the things I've been researching. We don't want it in our community. I understand it's an industrial park. We chose to live where we are at, knowing that there's a jail around the corner and there's an industrial park right there. We understand that, but we didn't sign up, and I know this wasn't there 20 years ago, but we didn't sign up to have a cannabis farm next to our houses. I just feel that you need to take this into consideration. I know I don't want my grandkids going to school across the street from a cannabis farm. And I'm sure there's others that feel the same way. I do have a ton of questions. I don't know if there's anyone that I can talk to after this, or maybe later on this week, because I'm trying to understand a lot of it, and it's so much. And I do want to understand all of it so I can explain it to our homeowners. I'm also the president of our association. So if I can, somebody run some questions through, even an email, that would be great. And that's
give your contact info to Brett.
Okay, great, thank you. Because I do have a lot of questions. One more thing. Oh, and I do have another question. So in one of the minutes for the industrial committee, they mentioned Green Mint. But the contract for the agreement of sale says something totally different. It says Atlantic Avenue Hamilton LLC. Why is that different? Does anybody know?
I couldn't tell you.
No.
I'd have to look back at that. It could be a DBA. Sometimes there's a parent company that goes by one name. They do business under a different name. But I can't speak to that specific
Right,
application.
usually
I do want to
there's
say,
some type of,
if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely.
I believe at some of the prior meetings, we did have a presentation on the flow chart and how this process works. There were some great comments from the governing body today about this process. I've heard some comments from Mr. Stry and from you, ma'am, about how the board should be digging in and getting all this information. But as Mr. Schenker said, in order for that not to be on this municipality's dime, we need an escrow agreement in place. So, it's not as though Mr. Mayor and the board should be proactively digging into applications that haven't been brought before them when no money has been put forth by the applicant to do any sort of investigation. So questions about water or electricity, things of that issue, that would be resolved in the course of, the process that's been laid out.
I just kind of wanted to get the wheels turning a little bit. I understand all that. I understand the process. Mr. Mayor helped me out a little bit with that. And me reading up, I understand the whole process. And I'm willing to do the escrow, like Mr. Schenker said, so we don't have to pay for it. But I don't want it to get to the process like where Mr. Stry said, where we're stuck. This is important to all of us. it's not just Chancellor. It's important to all of us. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at. I'll get you my information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're hired. I want you here first and third Monday.
All right. I have a couple of questions as well. I come from the same community.
Just state your name. And
Christian Javoinski, Hamilton Township.
Thank you.
All right. I have a couple of questions as well. I come from the same neighborhood as the woman who spoke previously.
Speak up a little.
Speak closer? Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. So, first of all, the aforementioned elementary school being near the plant is going to be near this is home to children of 5 and also to 8 to 11-year-olds. So there is a lot of concern when it comes to that. As well as, I don't think this was mentioned, but there's also a rehabilitation center that is on Atlantic Avenue that will only be a few steps away from this proposed plantation. So if it's established, I'm pretty sure that an increase in funds would need to go towards either a potential relapse of patients due to the proximity of the plant or keeping them more secured. As with cannabis being nearby, I'm sure an increase in crime rate is more guaranteed, although they're not the only people that I'm sure would be interested in stealing. Subsidized housing containing former Atlantic City residents can easily walk or bike to the facility and steal the crops, as well as other nearby residential communities, and local buses that reach as far as Atlantic City have stops that stop nearby the grounds for the plants, and they can bring the citizens that come from an area that has a high crime rate and substance abuse rate, and an increase in crimes such as driving under the influence might become more of a concern as well, which puts more people at threat. Also, in my neighborhood, we have seen an increase in people coming in and stealing or attempting to break into cars into our neighborhoods. So we have already seen more crime rate, and in the instance that this plantation would be established, I'm sure that communities would need to invest more in neighborhood watches. I know that the roads were talked about earlier as far as updating them, but even with those updates, I'm sure they do not have a high enough capacity for potential industrial traffic. This could block way getting to the elementary school as well as other local areas. So I think traffic is also a concern. And many home buyers may be reluctant to invest in these properties near our cannabis plant, which will lead to a decline in demand and subsequently reducing property values. And this will have a long-term economic impact on homeowners, affecting our ability to sell our properties at fair prices in the future because of traffic, noise pollution, and the stench of cannabis. Again, that was also mentioned before. So as far as those things, what are potential considerations for those leading into the future? If I'm phrasing that correctly.
I mean, that a lot of that stuff would be addressed after an agreement is made. And as he said, I don't want to speculate on that property. So to answer those questions, I would almost be answering for them, and that's not my place. That's kind of how I feel. I don't want to get us jammed up here.
Well, when that comes before this governing body, at that point in time, they can enter into an escrow agreement if they choose to. And at that time, we can do an investigation into these issues, and the public can come back and voice their concerns, and they'll be heard. And I think that's kind of, I don't mean to repeat myself, but that's something that has been mentioned a few times tonight. It's very important. So it's not as though the board is omnipotent and they should know about applications that haven't come before them yet. But when people like yourself come out from the public and express these concerns, it informs the board as to what the public wants them to look into. So you're doing a service by coming out and being heard.
All right, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, now we need you to move it back down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Debbie Kraus, Driftwood Lane. I just wanted to start off about the 5-minute rule, and I know it's done. The whole thing with the 5-minute rule with me was we have had no newspaper, we have had no circulars in any way going around to the township. People, if they're not online, they can't see what's actually happening in the town. We haven't really had a reporter that has been here. I know he did write an article on the Wheaton's cotton mill, but the same night was the meeting that 2 weeks ago that kind of erupted. Most of the people in my neighborhood didn't even know about Township Committee. They go and they vote, but they have no idea that these meetings go on. There's no flyers, no newspapers, none of that. And when they did come and the 5-minute rule got put in, they were very upset. And that was, and I can see because it had to do with their homes. I know what it's like. Some of these meetings back in the 90s went till 12 o'clock at night. I understand the whole thing behind, trying to keep it down. But I think that because there is no paper out there, unless you know where to go to find information about what's going on, there's nothing. Okay? And they were relying on me, to give them information about when the meetings were and how to go onto the website and how to watch the meetings online. So I just wanted to let you know that it wasn't about the 5-minute rule to them. It was about getting out what they had to say. And again, the rule, I understand why, because it just takes too much time. The second thing, the cannabis at Jean's. It was voted down. It cannot come back again to Jean's. It cannot return in a different way. They could. Okay. Okay. So we're going to have to be on our toes. Okay. See, I was worried, but the same company can come back, but with a different lot.
Yes, it would be considered a new application.
Okay. Again, none of us up where we're at, we're against cannabis. We understand that it's going to be very good for the economy here to get monies coming in from the cannabis as much as we can. Nobody is disagreeing with the cannabis. The disagreement is the location. There are agricultural zones in this township, and that's where cannabis should be grown. The agricultural zones are way out of the township where there are not neighborhoods. That's why they're agricultural zones. They're farms. That's what they do. And it wasn't about the cannabis. It was about the location, just like the people from Chancellor's Place are talking about now. It's the location. I really appreciate the fact that you brought it up tonight to vote on it, because a lot of the people up on our street were having panic attacks over this. And, I can't make the meeting because I'm too upset over this. So they were very happy to hear that it was done. But now it could come back in a different area.
It'll all depend on whether or not they want to apply.
Right. And again, the cannabis issue just goes back to location. It's all about the location, just like with real estate. It's about the location. And I'm just asking you to take that into consideration when you put these warehouses that are going to smell and they're going to cause problems. Think about that. It's just the location. I wouldn't have had to start all this if it hadn't been about the location in a residential area. But I want to thank you for your vote tonight, and I know my neighbors appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's okay.
I'm good, thanks. Hi, I'm Dave Fergione. I live in Chancellor area. I've been a resident for 40 years in this township. I've only attended one meeting where I spoke, and that was on behalf of my son years ago when the Township Committee did not want videos to show the public what was going on. They since have stepped up and done that, finished that. So, and I don't want to beat the dead horse, but one reason I was speaking was because of the 5-minute rule, and I want to thank you for that. But I still have a concern with Mr. Vitale when you said there's an ordinance that says the mayor can institute it.
It's already been instituted.
Okay. Now, my concern is if a Republican is mayor, they can shoot down something that a Democrat or same thing, it could be used politically. How do you address something like that or could address something like that? That's my concern because everyone should, I'm a veteran, I believe in free speech that no one should be cut off. Even someone who's talking that as long as they're not violent or anything like that, that they should be given the opportunity for the people of this township to hear. And for someone, individual, to say, no, I'm cutting things off, that's upsetting to me. And I'm sure a lot of other people might be upset about that. So I don't know.
And I believe the reason why that ordinance exists in the 5 minutes is because the situation, I'll say a situation like this, when a lot of people are going to come and a lot of people want to speak. Well, there may be some other people that want to speak about a different issue, and they may be elderly, and they're just sitting there waiting their turn, waiting.
I understand.
So they get up and leave because they don't want to wait
so you knew tonight cannabis would be an issue, correct?
Excuse me?
You knew tonight cannabis would be one of the issues in the public comment.
Sure.
So why not say we're holding them off anybody else ahead of time? You don't have to limit. And that's my point. You know, everyone has that right to speak and say something. And
We're not taking, I'm saying you have just try to narrow it down to 5 minutes.
Maybe
That's
you can't.
all.
If somebody's proposing a growing facility and they come to you with all this stuff, and I did my research, or I have someone do that, and I have all this research, I can't only have 5 minutes to present it. That's my concern. You know, unless you say, I come here with 30 people and I can use their 5 minutes. I don't know. So that's something to think about, this ordinance. I don't want it to be used politically either, and that's one of the things I was concerned about. On a different note, I had bought Cheech and Chong albums in my day, so I'm not opposed to anything, for those of you that know the Cheech and Chong thing, as far as that's concerned. But, as mentioned before, there's facilities around here. And right now, it's a seller's market. But when it becomes a buyer's market, I'm going to ride down the street and look at Hess School and do I want my kids going somewhere where it's here? And we may not get the youth coming here because they're going to go to a different town. And that's a concern that I wanted to bring up to you. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever heard of Williams Wonder Farm?
No.
No, probably not. But it's the #1 marijuana growing facility in Oregon. They've been doing this longer than you and I or anybody here has. So they have some history of what's going on. That's just one of the many ones. I just briefly looked at some of that today. But I did do some things about that, and I couldn't find anyone that meets their revenue projections. So when you have people coming to you about this and saying this is the tax revenue we're going to get, is there a guarantee in that?
No.
Again, I can project that I'm going to make you this much money, but I only give you 59 cents. Sorry. But yet I got my things approved. So revenue projection is something you want to look at to see if there's really a truth to that and not to where you could be fooled about that. And once they get in there, we lose the revenue you thought you were going to get. Because it's big revenue. That's one of the reasons you're considering things is to lower our taxes with revenue.
In the world, since the beginning of time, people have probably inflated what you were going to get. So I take what they say with a grain of salt.
Okay. But when I was looking at this Williams Wonder Farm, there are some pluses, higher math in the students, but then when you look further into it, it's because most of them are going to private schools. So you got to watch statistics, you know, because we can all bend them to where you want. But 3 things did come out to me. In the town of Williams, they have a higher substance abuse rate than anywhere else in the country. There's one of the highest. They have a high cancer incidence and cancer mortality. So what do you look into? And you, Mayor, you said that it's new. I'm going to quote you. There's going to be mistakes, and we learn from our mistakes. I hope those mistakes aren't cancer clusters that form and other things because you made some decisions and learned from them at the expense of the taxpayers. So.
Anybody else? All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry. What?
I appreciate everything was said tonight, okay? And it's a good thing that you know as much as you can know about this cannabis. Personally, again, I'm not opposed to someone indulging in the use of the cannabis. But as far as enabling and proliferating that particular use, I own a business, okay, and you all know. I should say, first of all, my name is Jim Link, and my addresses are 676 Park Road and 763 Park Road. 763 Park Road happens to be a roller skating facility that's been taking care of families and kids since 1974, okay? So we have an inherent problem with the proliferation of any kind of mind-altering or whatever substance, okay? Got a problem with it. I can't abide by it. I think the whole idea of making money on it, well, having been in your place and having been chairman of the planning board, I understand that it's always good to make money. However, at what cost? Okay? I've made the assumption months and months and months ago, even a year ago, when the stuff going on, the proposal at Wrangleboro and Tilton Road was being considered, that the ordinance is flawed. And I didn't mean just here, there, and everywhere where someone just pick around at it and kind of choose. The whole thing is flawed. The concept is flawed, and it should be reformed. Now, I understand you're doing a lot of work. I get it. It's a lot of work. But it's piecemeal. And as stuff is going on we're learning by our mistakes, human beings do that. I get it too. But man, you got to try to iron them out before it goes to people who are going to put money on it. Because that's when things get really serious, okay? My flair for the obvious is showing. But let me change subjects. About 2 months ago, I stood here from my old profession. I was manager of sales and marketing for international businesses. I brought up the fact that, one way of bringing money into the township is to have people actively pursue bringing future business in here. Okay? Don't sit back there in the dais. Don't sit in the office and think they're going to come because we have all these great ordinances that are going to bring these people to our doorstep. As a manager of sales and marketing, as an owner of a business, we don't rely on people coming to us. We got to go get the business. And I said there are people who come to this meeting are eminently qualified to do exactly that. And the township doesn't have to spend any money doing it. You make a commission basis, and whatever money comes in, they get a part of it, and the township residents don't pay for any of that. But then they make the benefit by having those people, bring their business to the township. And I hope that, my admonitions haven't gone unheard. I hope you're considering it, and I hope you do it quickly. Thank you.
Anybody else? Do I hear a motion to close?
Close.
I have a motion to close. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? I'm sorry. We need a motion for adjournment.
Yeah,
Anybody?
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second. Whatever. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Adjourn.